Well, for those of you who are really hoping to see new hardware from Apple today, you're disappointed. There's always a big difference between what you want and what you hope to happen and then what Apple will actually do. It seems like every year I have to remind people that WWDC is not for hardware. The Worldwide Developers Conference is a software event, and that's what happens when you manage your expectations based off of some YouTuber's WWDC predictions and rumors video. It's not Apple's fault. You can't be disappointed. It's not Apple's fault that you believe some YouTuber somewhere. That part's not Apple's fault. However, the event itself was very not good. It was like 2 hours of nonsense. So this is a recap with just a few minutes of nonsense. Okay, like I said, the event itself was 2 hours, so we're just going to cover like the most important stuff you need to know about. Of course, as always, Tim Cook comes out looking fit as might I mention. Look at them guns. Just look at them. Which, I mean, come on, they have to be big. He has to be strong, you know, because he's carrying all your disappointment. They skipped all the negative stuff about them in the news, obviously. But of course, they mentioned customer satisfaction and how much money they're making. You know, Apple's okay. Then, all aboard Air Force One, our boy Craig Federighi took the stage to talk about some iOS 12 action. Now, we've been telling you on Front Page Tech for months and months and months that Apple totally ditched their plans to add a bunch of features to iOS 12. Instead, that'll come to iOS 13. Their focus with iOS 12 was optimization, refining the software and making it less shitty. And that is all I wanted. Less bugs, less glitches, just a smoother, better experience. And on that front, Apple totally delivered. So they tweaked the do not disturb function. Now you can set it for when you're heading to bed. The best thing ever is that they now have added group notifications. Notifications on iOS were a bunch of terribleness. Now, it's not that. Finally taking a page out of Android's book and fixing their notifications. Now, all of that stuff will be grouped together instead of just seeing tons of lock screen notification bubbles in your butt. Oh, and you can set a timer for how long you want to use your apps on a daily basis. You know, because you're on Twitter too much. Myself. Of course, if you put a time limit on yourself and it's like, hey, you need to stop using your phone now, you can just ignore and snooze those limits. And to follow up on the whole war between Animoji and then Samsung comes out with AR emoji, Apple has fired back. And now there's tongue detection. That's how you know they mean business. It's exactly what it sounds like. You can now have your Animoji stick their tongue out. Oh, and they introduced Memoji, which, you know, is that's a thing. They're also adding search suggestions for specific people, places, and events in Photos in the Photos app, similar to Google Photos. And there's even a time-hoppy Facebook-esque on this day reminder of a picture that you took years ago. The updated messages, of course, there's new Animoji, stickers, text, and a drawing tool that's built right into the camera app. And they updated FaceTime, and holy you can now have group FaceTime calls. And for whatever god-awful reason, they decided to support up to 32 people in one call. Who in the hell could have possibly thought that was a good idea? They basically enabled a new feature called Impossible Communication. Have you ever heard 32 people try to talk at one time? This is what it would sound like. Now let's talk about Siri. She got an update, but not like a good update. We need Siri to be better. We need her to be smarter. We need her to be a better communicator. She's none of those things. Even now. She's now getting suggestions with some app actions that Siri thinks you might want to do based on your smartphone usage behavior. Also, a new shortcut app. It allows you to add your own section as well. If you basically want to customize a specific action, you can now combine multiple actions as well. Like a specific radio station that you want to play, a thermostat setting, or a text message that you want sent to your kids letting them know that you're on your way. And you can set that all to trigger when you give Siri the command that you're heading home. Okay, wait, am I crazy here, or does this sound like a lot more work for the user? Like, we have Google working on Google Assistant, making it better at understanding context and communicating with you, using AI to learn about you as you use it and give you what you want. And Apple's just like, there's Siri. You just tell her. You got a programmer. Just you make her work. I don't know. You figure it out. Let's be honest here. They didn't make Siri any smarter. They just turned her into IFT. If this, then that. Listen, Apple, whatever. I'm not disappointed in iOS 12. I'm just disappointed in like what you chose to focus on at the event. I'm just sort of disappointed that we had an event at all. Anyway, as long as iOS 12 is optimized and reliable, that's all I care about. That's all I wanted. Thank you. Next up, we have Mac OS. The new name is Mojave. Ooh, that just feels good to say. The very first feature they showed in Mac OS Mojave is dark mode. I fucking love this. Everyone wanted dark mode in iOS. All the rumors and prediction videos for WWDC on YouTube were all like, we're getting dark mode in iOS. You were all excited about dark mode in iOS. And I feel like Apple totally knew. Like, you didn't get it in iOS. Instead, they put it in macOS. So you can have it in macOS. There, you get dark mode, but not on the place that you actually want it. Apple trolled the shit out of us, and it's hilarious. They also had a "fuck you, Facebook" section of the event. They put a heavy focus on privacy. They usually do, but of course they made sure to mention it this time too. There is a new Safari feature that preemptively blocks sites that are tracking you, like Facebook's like and comment sections, and asks you instead if you'd like to allow it. So it's not enabled by default. Instead, you'll have to be like, yeah, I'll let Mark Zuckerberg know where I am and come eat my dog. Also, Apple's only going to give sites a quote-unquote simplified system configuration to help prevent them from being able to identify and fingerprint your device for ads. The App Store on Mac is also getting a redesign. You get better sections that highlight video previews, ratings, and editor's choice picks. Mojave is also getting a bunch of quick actions, such as organizing your desktop by stacks to clean up all the files sitting around, or choose to watermark multiple files, or sign a PDF document just by selecting a menu option from the sidebar. Apparently, screen capping videos is also going to be easier and quicker. It'll be a keyboard shortcut instead of having to go through QuickTime. Okay, now let's talk about watchOS. Of course, our boy Timmy talked about how the Apple Watch saved a dude's life. Cool, that's always awesome. Yay living. Anyway, with watchOS 5, you can now challenge your friends to fitness competitions. You can get digital awards and record workouts retroactively just in case you forget to press start or if workout tracking doesn't start automatically. They're also adding WebKit for watchOS, so you can browse some websites on the watch too, because, you know, that screen is definitely optimal for looking at a website. And finally, podcast support is coming to Apple Watch. You can now listen to Recycle Bin, which we know is your favorite podcast, on your watch. Oh, and get this, there's a new walkie-talkie feature too. You know what walkie-talkies do? Seriously, they spent way too many minutes teaching us how walkie-talkies work. You press the thing, you say a thing, the other person hears the thing on their thing, they press the thing, say a thing, you hear that thing on your thing. And then at the end, they were like, we call this walkie-talkie. Yeah. So does everybody else, Apple. Oh, also, it's Pride Month. So now you get a new rainbowy Pride Month edition Apple Watch band and a Pride Edition Apple Watch watch face thing. It's rainbow too, matches the band. It's actually kind of cool looking. And if I'm not mistaken, that's available like now. And somewhere in there, they talked about Apple TV 4K, which now includes Dolby Atmos support. We know that because they played loud noises on the speakers during the event, which means Dolby Atmos because sound. Apple said they're going to update their iTunes library to now include Dolby Atmos on supported movies, also on TV shows and music videos, and that'll just be free because you're welcome. The Apple TV will also support cable service with Spectrum, Charter Spectrum, fucking hate you guys by the way, just letting you know, as well as live news and sports channels on the app. And Apple will provide you with zero sign-on capability. That will allow you to automatically log into your streaming account without requiring like secondary authentication. I mean, we've been hearing for years that Apple is working on their own live TV streaming service, and that didn't happen. So, you know, if you can't beat them, join them. I guess overall, I'm not disappointed in like the software itself and all these updates. I think it's fine. I'm just more disappointed in the event. Like, to me, it felt like we could have just canned this event for this year and instead just released a cool blog post and said, here's all the things. The stuff they chose to focus on during the actual event was just, my brain was turning into mashed potatoes and melting out of my ears. Wouldn't recommend. Now, like I said, I know there's a lot of you that are totally disappointed that there was no hardware announced at this event today, and I feel you. I mean, I would have loved to see hardware too, but I just knew that we weren't going to see it. In fact, yesterday I tweeted that it's a software event, don't expect to see hardware, and for some reason, people just didn't buy it. They argued with me, and they kept saying, well, we saw hardware last year. Listen, no one ever said that Apple never shows off or announces hardware at WWDC, but there has to be a reason, right? It has to make sense in their release cycle, in their release schedule, and we would know about it. Like, you can see it coming, you know when it's going to happen, and this year I just didn't see it coming. There was no reason to actually announce any hardware during this event today, and unfortunately, they released it last year. That's not a good enough reason. So now it's your turn. What did you think? Did you hate it? Did you love it? Were you underwhelmed? Were you just whelmed? Let us know in the comment section below. And of course, if you're new here, we have a daily tech news show. We do this every single day, so be sure to subscribe and you won't miss another episode. And for the rest of you, I'm sorry that you watched another one of our videos. Goodbye.